The exploration vessel Patience drifted silently through the darkness of space. Its sleek black hull absorbed nearby starlight, making it look like a shadow against the cosmic background. Captain Jin has stood on the bridge, his hands clasped behind his back as he watched the main screen. "Unknown ships approaching, Captain," reported Officer Mai Li from her station. Her fingers moved quickly across the control panel as she gathered more data. 5 vessels, configuration unlike anything in our database. Jin Han nodded slowly. This was the moment they had trained for. First contact with a new alien species. "Battle stations," he ordered calmly, "but keep all weapons powered down. Activate the diplomatic protocols." The bridge crew worked efficiently, each person following the procedures they had practiced countless times. They had spent years preparing for this moment, though the aliens wouldn't know that. "They're hailing us," Mai Li announced. "The universal translator is processing their language." "On screen," Jin He commanded. The main display flickered to life, revealing a tall, purple-skinned alien with 4 eyes and elaborate decorative armor. Its head was adorned with crystalline structures that seemed to pulse with inner light. "I am High Elder Kex of the Valaxian Empire," the alien announced, its translated voice carrying a hint of arrogance. "You have entered our sovereign space." Jin He bowed slightly, a carefully calculated gesture of respect that deliberately stopped short of submission. "I am Captain Jin He of the Earth exploration vessel, Patience. We come in peace, seeking diplomatic relations." The alien's upper eyes narrowed while its lower ones widened, an expression the humans had no way to interpret yet. "Earth, we have not heard of your species. How far does your territory extend?" "We are new to interstellar travel," Jin He replied truthfully, though he left out many details. "Our territory is modest, and we seek only peaceful exchange of knowledge and culture." Behind him, Dr. Hannah Kim quietly activated her biological scanners. Every moment of this interaction was being recorded, analyzed, and stored. Every gesture, every word, every physiological response from the aliens was data they needed. High Elder Kex made a sound that might have been laughter. "New to the stars. Then you would benefit from our protection. The galaxy is dangerous for young species. We would be grateful for any guidance you wish to share." Jin He responded, his voice carefully modulated to sound humble. In truth, Earth had been studying the galaxy for decades through hidden probes and stealth ships. The Patience was their first official contact vessel, but far from their first presence in space. Officer Mai Li's console quietly blinked with incoming data. The Valaxian ships were scanning them, just as they were scanning the Valaxians. But where the aliens made no effort to hide their scans, the human ship's most advanced sensors remained undetectable, gathering far more detailed information. "Perhaps we should meet in person," Kex suggested. "Your ship could dock with our command vessel." "We would be honored," Jin He agreed, "though we must follow our first contact protocols for the safety of both species. Our medical officer, Dr. Hannah Kim, will need to perform basic atmospheric and biological compatibility tests." Kex's crystalline headpieces flickered with what seemed like amusement. These humans were so cautious, so careful. Clearly, they were a timid species that could be easily dominated. Their very ship name, Patience, spoke of their passive nature. What Kex didn't realize was that every hesitation was calculated, every careful step was gathering intelligence. The ship's name had been chosen deliberately, playing into alien expectations of human nature. As preparations began for the first face-to-face meeting, Jin has sent a coded message back to Earth Command. The Valaxians didn't detect the quantum entangled transmission that was impossible to intercept. The message was simple. First contact established. Species designation, Valaxian. Initial assessment, pride before wisdom. Proceeding with Protocol 7. The pieces were being set on the board, though the Valaxians didn't know they were playing a game. They saw only what humans wanted them to see. A careful, patient, somewhat timid species making its first steps into the galaxy. They would learn differently in time. But for now, Captain Jin would play his role perfectly, gathering information with every careful, hesitant step. After all, patience was not about mercy. It was about waiting for the perfect moment to act. Dr. Hannah Kim stood in the gleaming meeting hall of the Allied Species Council. The walls sparkled with living crystals that changed colors with the mood of the room. Right now, they pulsed with shades of green and blue, colors that the council species associated with dismissal and contempt. These humans, first Speaker Nix addressed the gathered representatives, are clearly a species that needs guidance and protection. The tall, silver-skinned alien gestured to the holographic displays showing human diplomatic missions. Look how they back away from every challenge. See how they ask permission for everything. Hannah kept her face carefully neutral as she watched. She wore a simple white uniform that made her look unimportant, and she had deliberately chosen to wear no rank insignia. Let them think she was a minor diplomatic aide. "If I may speak," she said softly, bowing lower than necessary. Every movement was a performance. We humans wish only to learn from the great species of the galaxy. High Elder Kex, who had been invited to the council after his first contact with the patients, made a sound of amused superiority. "See how they defer to us. In the 3 months since we met them, they have not once shown any sign of pride or ambition." The council chamber filled with murmurs of agreement. Various alien species, each more exotic than the last, nodded their heads or equivalent body parts. They had all seen the reports. Humans always asked for permission before entering new star systems, always withdrew if challenged, always apologized for any misunderstanding. "I propose," First Speaker Nix announced, "that we establish clear boundaries for human expansion. They may keep their current territory, but they must seek council approval before colonizing any new worlds." Hannah bowed again. "We would be grateful for the council's guidance," she said. In her pocket, a quantum recorder captured every detail of the meeting. Her enhanced eyes, which looked completely natural, scanned and analyzed the biological responses of every species present. "What of the resource-rich systems near their space?" asked a reptilian delegate. "Surely those should be reserved for more advanced species." "A wise suggestion," Kex agreed. "The humans clearly lack the ambition to develop those systems properly." Hannah watched as they drew lines on the galactic map, carving up space that they thought humans wouldn't want. Her gentle smile never wavered. They didn't know that Earth's stealth ships had already mapped every one of those systems in detail. "There is one small matter," she said hesitantly, playing her role perfectly. "Some of our colony ships are already on their way to the outer systems. They were launched before we learned of the Council's authority. Would it be possible to let them complete their journeys?" The council members looked at each other with amusement. Such a timid request, asking permission even retroactively. "Those colony ships must be redirected," First Speaker Nix declared. "The Council's authority is absolute." "Of course," Hannah agreed quickly. "I will inform Earth Command immediately." What she didn't mention was that those colony ships were actually heavily armed fortress vessels, positioned strategically throughout human space. The Council would never think to check. After all, why would such a peaceful species disguise warships as colony vessels? As the meeting ended, Hannah transmitted another coded message through her quantum communicator. Council meeting concluded. All species present confirmed previous psychological assessments. They believe the deception completely. Proceeding with Phase 2 of Operation Gentle Hand. The council members watched her leave, satisfied with their display of authority. They saw exactly what humanity wanted them to see. A young, deferential species that knew its place in the galaxy. None of them noticed that the patterns in Hannah's simple white uniform were actually recording devices. None of them realized that her every gesture of submission was being analyzed to perfect Earth's understanding of their cultural responses, and none of them suspected that their new restrictions on human space would fit perfectly into humanity's carefully prepared plans. After all, The best way to make someone underestimate you is to let them think they're in control. And humans had turned that simple truth into an art form. Commander Topark stood in Earth Command's strategic center, surrounded by holographic displays of human space and beyond. His dark eyes moved from one screen to another, watching patterns emerge in the data. The room was quiet except for the soft hum of computers and the occasional whisper of his uniform as he moved. "Show me Valaxian fleet movements for the past month," he ordered. The main display shifted, revealing dozens of red dots moving through space. Now overlay the Council species trading routes. New lines appeared, crisscrossing the map in different colors. "Interesting pattern, isn't it?" said Colonel Yu beside him. She pointed to several spots where alien ships clustered near human colonies. "They're not even trying to hide it anymore." Ta nodded slowly. "They think they don't need to hide. Every time they push, we step back. Every time they claim a system, we apologize and withdraw." A small smile crossed his face. "They think we're weak." The doors slid open, and Dr. Hannah Kim walked in. She had just returned from another council meeting where she had played her role perfectly. The humble human diplomat, always eager to please. "The council has claimed 3 more systems," she reported. "They expect us to abandon our survey missions there immediately." She pulled out her quantum recorder and transferred its data to the main system. "I have complete biological readings on 2 new species from today's meeting." Tay's smile grew slightly wider. "Excellent. How many species have shown aggressive tendencies now?" 14, Hannah replied, bringing up her latest analysis. "The Valaxians are the most obvious, but others are starting to follow their lead. They all think we're easy prey." "Add their fleet movements to the display," Tai commanded. New dots appeared on the map, and now the pattern was impossible to miss. Alien ships were slowly surrounding human space, claiming systems in a way that would eventually cut off Earth's expansion routes. "They're boxing us in," Colonel Yu observed, "but they're being so obvious about it. It's almost amateur." Ta finished for her. "They have no experience with real strategic warfare. They think numbers and technology are enough." He touched a control, and new markers appeared on the map, hundreds of them, scattered throughout human space and beyond. "Our stealth outposts?" Hannah asked, recognizing the markers. "Yes. While they've been watching our official colonies and counting our registered ships, we've been building these." Ta brought up detailed scans of each alien fleet. "Every time they come near our space, we scan them. Every time they think they're intimidating us, we're actually testing their defenses." Colonel Yu checked her datapad. "The new weapon systems are ready. We've adapted them specifically to each species' weaknesses. And they have no idea," Hannah added. Today, one of the council members actually laughed about how humans don't understand modern weapons. If they only knew what we have hidden in those humble colony ships. Ta walked to the center of the room, where Earth's territory glowed blue amidst the encroaching alien claims. "How long until they make their first aggressive move?" "Soon," Hannah said. "They're getting bolder. The Valaxians especially. They've been talking about protecting our outer colonies. They think we'll just accept their control." "Perfect." Ta pressed another control, and new information appeared. Detailed battle plans, ship positions, weapon configurations. "We're ready. Every retreat has put our forces in better positions. Every apology has made them overconfident. When they finally attack, they'll have no idea what they're walking into," Colonel Yu finished. Ta looked at the map one last time. Somewhere out there, alien species were laughing about human weakness. They were making plans based on human patience, mistaking it for fear. They had never faced a species that turned patience itself into a weapon. "Send word to all commands," he ordered. "Operation Silent Thunder is now active. When the aliens make their move, we'll show them why patience and mercy are not the same thing." The room grew quiet again, but it was a different kind of quiet now. It was the quiet of a spring being compressed, of a weapon being aimed, of a trap about to be sprung. The aliens would learn soon enough. Humans hadn't been retreating. They had been getting ready. The Valaxian attack fleet dropped out of hyperspace near New Haven Colony. 30 warships, their purple hulls gleaming with crystalline weapons, moved into attack formation. On the bridge of his flagship, High Elder Kex watched the human colony with all 4 eyes. "See how they scatter," he said to his officers. "Their sensors must have just detected us. Look at all the ships fleeing the colony." Indeed, dozens of small ships were racing away from New Haven's main port. They moved in seemingly random directions, like scared animals running from a predator. Emergency signals filled the space around the colony. "This is Governor Sunley of New Haven Colony." A transmission came through. The human's voice shook slightly. "Please, we are a peaceful settlement. We have no weapons. We'll give you anything you want." Kex's crystalline headpieces glowed with triumph. "Too late for bargaining, human. This colony now belongs to the Valaxian Empire. Your weakness has made this too easy." More colony ships fled as the Valaxian fleet approached. They left so quickly that some of their cargo containers fell off, spinning into space. The colony's few defensive satellites turned away, as if their operators had abandoned their posts in fear. "Sir," one of Kex's officers called out, "should we destroy the fleeing ships?" "No need," Kex replied. "Let them run. Let them tell other human colonies how easily we conquered this one. Soon, they will all submit to us." On the surface of New Haven, Governor Sunley sat in his command center deep underground. His hands moved calmly over his control panel, though his voice on the radio still trembled with fake fear. "This is Governor Lee to all citizens," he announced. "Evacuation Plan Delta is in effect. This is not a drill. May heaven help us all." He turned off the public channel and pressed a hidden button. A secure quantum line opened to Earth Command. "Colony New Haven reporting," he said, his voice now steady and professional. "Operation Mousetrap is proceeding exactly as planned. The Valaxians have taken the bait. All civilian ships are actually automated drones. All real civilians were evacuated through the underground tunnels last week." Commander Topark's voice came back through the quantum line. "Excellent work, Governor. Are the special cargo containers in position?" "Yes, sir." The Valaxians ignored them completely. "They think they're just cargo that fell off fleeing ships. Each one contains a quantum-locked EMP device, ready to activate on your command." In orbit, High Elder Kex ordered his fleet to spread out around the colony. His ships moved into a perfect circle, exactly as the humans had predicted they would. None of his sensors detected the tiny stealth drones that were marking each Valaxian ship's weakest points. "Begin the landing sequence," Kex commanded. "Send our troops to secure their pathetic government buildings." The first Valaxian dropships descended toward New Haven's surface. They didn't scan for underground structures. Why would such a weak species have anything hidden below? They didn't notice that every building they targeted was empty, rigged with sensors to track their every move. In his hidden command center, Governor Lee sent one final message to Earth Command. "All Valaxian forces are in optimal position. They've completely surrounded themselves with our abandoned cargo containers. Their ground forces are landing exactly where we wanted them." Commander Topark's response was simple. "Operation Silent Thunder is now authorized. Show them what human patience has been hiding." Governor Lee's fingers moved across his control panel one last time. Above the colony, the abandoned cargo containers suddenly came to life. The fleeing civilian ships stopped their random movements and turned around with military precision. And in that moment, as realization began to dawn in High Elder Kex's 4 eyes, the trap that humans had spent months preparing finally snapped shut. The Valaxians were about to learn that sometimes the fish isn't running away from the fisherman. Sometimes it's leading the fisherman into deeper waters. And in the depths of human space, terrible things have been waiting patiently for this moment. High Elder Kex watched in horror as the abandoned cargo containers surrounding his fleet began to glow with strange energy. Before he could give any orders, Every container burst open at once. Waves of invisible energy washed over the Valaxian ships. "Our weapons," an officer shouted. "They're not responding." All around the fleet, the crystalline weapon systems that were the pride of the Valaxian Empire grew dark and lifeless. "Impossible," Kex whispered. "How could they know about the crystal resonance frequency? We never let them study our weapons." The answer came in the form of Dr. Hannah Kim's voice over their communication system. "You showed us your weapons every time you tried to intimidate us, High Elder. Every time you powered up your guns to scare us away from a system, we were scanning them. Every time you thought you were teaching us a lesson in humility, you were teaching us how to defeat you." The fleeing civilian ships suddenly changed. Their outer shells fell away, revealing sleek combat vessels bristling with weapons specifically designed to target Valaxian weak points. On the surface, the Valaxian ground forces found themselves surrounded. Hidden doors opened in seemingly empty buildings. Armored human soldiers emerged, wearing battle suits that had been tested and perfected against Valaxian weapons for months. "This is Commander Toppark of Earth Command," a new voice announced on all channels. "For months, you mistook our patience for weakness. You mistook our careful study for fear. Now, you will understand the difference." In his hidden command center, Governor Sun Li activated the colony's true defenses. Massive weapon platforms rose from underground bunkers. Each one had been carefully hidden, their energy signatures masked by the very fear and chaos the Valaxians had expected to see. "Your invasion fleet is surrounded," Sun Li announced. "Your weapons are disabled. Your ground forces are contained. You have one chance to surrender." High Elder Kex's headpieces had grown dim with shock. "But your ships always ran away. Your colonies always begged for mercy. How could you hide all this?" "We didn't hide it." Captain Jin Ha's voice joined the conversation. His ship Patience dropped its stealth field, revealing that it had been watching the entire attack. "We showed you exactly what we wanted you to see. You were so sure of our weakness that you never looked deeper." More human ships appeared, dropping their stealth fields all around the Valaxian fleet. Each one had been shadowing a specific Valaxian vessel, recording its movements, learning its patterns. "Operation Silent Thunder is now complete," Commander Toppark announced. "Every Valaxian fleet in human space has been neutralized." "Yes, High Elder, this wasn't just happening here. We launched the same operation at every position where you thought you had us surrounded." Dr. Hannah Kim spoke again, her voice no longer carrying its usual diplomatic hesitation. "We learned everything about you. Your biology, your technology, your tactics. Every time you came to intimidate us, we were preparing. Every time you threatened us, we improved our weapons. Your pride made you predictable." On his flagship's bridge, Kex watched as more human ships appeared. They moved with perfect coordination, having practiced these maneuvers for months while pretending to be clumsy civilian vessels. "How?" he asked, his voice shaking. "How long have you been planning this?" "Since the day we met," Captain Jin Ha replied simply. "Your first words to us were about protecting our species. In that moment, we knew exactly what kind of empire you were, and we began preparing for this day." Commander Toppark gave the final word. "Humanity is not weak, High Elder. We are patient, and now you understand that patience has nothing to do with mercy. Surrender, or learn exactly how much we've learned about making your weapons useless and your defenses fail." In the silence that followed as High Elder Kex stared at his dead weapons and trapped ships, he finally understood. Humans hadn't been running away all this time. They had been hunting. Captain Jin Ha walked slowly along the bridge of his ship, Patience. With a simple hand gesture, he ordered the removal of the fake panels that had hidden the vessel's true nature for so long. Beneath the humble explorer's exterior, sleek weapon systems emerged into view. "Send a message to all Valaxian ships," he ordered. "Show them what they've been dismissing as a simple exploration vessel." On the main screen, High Elder Kex and his officers watched in stunned silence as the Patience transformed. Gone was the weak, civilian-looking ship. In its place stood a warship more advanced than anything the Valaxians had ever seen. "Your weapons," Kex said, his voice barely a whisper. "They're not just human technology." "No," Jinho agreed. "Each system was specifically designed to counter your technology. We copied the best parts of every alien species we met and improved them. While you thought we were begging to learn from you, we were actually studying how to defeat you." In her laboratory aboard the Patience, Dr. Hannah Kim opened her research files. With a few commands, she shared them with the Valaxian fleet. Years of careful observation appeared on their screens. Detailed scans of their biology, their weapons, their shields. Every diplomatic meeting, she explained, every cultural exchange, every time you demanded we study your superior technology. We were gathering data. These aren't just weapons. They're weapons designed specifically for you. Commander Topark's voice joined the conversation from Earth Command. "Show them the training simulations." New images appeared on the Valaxian screens. They showed human forces practicing against exact copies of Valaxian ships and weapons. Every tactic, every maneuver the Valaxians had used in the current battle, the humans had practiced countering them months ago. "Impossible," one of Kex's officers said. "These simulations, they're perfect copies of our attack patterns." "Of course they are," Jinho replied. "Every time you tried to frighten us by showing off your fleet movements, we recorded them. Every aggressive display was just giving us more information." Governor Sun Li's voice came from the surface of New Haven Colony, and it wasn't just military preparation. The governor activated a series of displays showing vast underground cities, hidden factories, and secret shipyards. While you watched our surface activities, we built all of this. Every time you forced us to abandon a system, we just moved our real operations underground. "The colony ships you stopped," Topark added. "The ones you turned away from the systems you claimed. They were never meant to build colonies. They were delivering supplies and weapons to our hidden bases. You thought you were controlling our expansion, but we were surrounding you." High Elder Kex's headpieces had lost all their glow. "The Council, they must be told." "The Council already knows," Dr. Kim interrupted. "Right now, human forces are revealing themselves across the galaxy. Every species that supported your aggression is discovering just how patient we can be." Jinha moved to the center of his bridge. With another gesture, he revealed the ship's main weapon, a massive crystal array that looked suspiciously like Valaxian technology. "Your greatest mistake," he said quietly, "was thinking that humans would only learn what you chose to teach us, that we would only build what you allowed us to build, that we would stay within the limits you set." The crystal array hummed to life, but its energy signature was unlike anything the Valaxians had seen. It was their technology, but changed, improved, made more powerful in ways they hadn't thought possible. "This is why patience isn't mercy," Commander Topark concluded. "Mercy means showing kindness to those who wrong you. Patience means taking the time to learn exactly how they wronged you, and making sure they can never do it again." As his words faded, the full reality of their situation finally hit High Elder Kex. The humans hadn't just prepared for this battle. They had spent years making sure it would be the only battle they would ever need to fight. The Allied Species Council chamber had never been so quiet. The living crystal walls reflected the mood perfectly. They had turned a deep, dark blue of shock and fear. First Speaker Nix stood frozen as reports came in from across the galaxy. "Human forces have appeared in the spiral arm sectors," a reptilian delegate reported, his scales pale with fear. "They were there all along, hiding in the systems we thought were empty." "The same in the core worlds," another council member added. "Their stealth technology. It's better than anything we have. They've been watching us for years." Dr. Hannah Kim walked into the chamber. Gone was her usual humble bow, her carefully submissive posture. She moved with quiet confidence, and the council members found themselves backing away from her. "You were so proud," she said softly, "so sure that you understood humans. Every time you gave us a command, every time you restricted our movements, you thought you were showing your power. The main display activated, showing hundreds of locations across the galaxy where human forces had suddenly revealed themselves. Hidden bases, cloaked ships, underground facilities, all appearing at once in a carefully coordinated display of power. Those systems you claimed, Hana continued, the ones you said we couldn't colonize, we were already there. Those resources you thought we were too weak to defend, we've been mining them in secret, building our strength. First speaker Nix found his voice at last. But we monitored your space. We watched your progress. Your technology was so basic. A new figure appeared on the main screen. Commander Topark. You watched what we wanted you to watch. Your monitoring stations. We've been feeding them false data for years. Every time you looked at human space, you saw exactly what we chose to show you. The council chamber's doors opened again. Captain Jinho walked in, accompanied by a defeated-looking High Elder Kex. The Valaxians' crystalline headpieces were completely dark, a sign of total submission. Tell them, Jin has said quietly to Kex. The once proud Valaxian leader spoke in a shaking voice. They have weapons we've never seen, defenses we can't break. They took our own technology and made it better than we ever could. But how? First speaker Nix demanded. When did you have time to develop all this? Hana smiled. Every diplomatic meeting where you made us wait for hours. We were scanning your ships. Every time you demanded we study your superior culture. We were analyzing your weaknesses. Every delay, every restriction, every show of dominance gave us more time to prepare. Commander Park's image gestured, and new data appeared on the screens. Right now, human forces are in position around every major military installation in Council space. We've had years to study your defenses, your patrol patterns, your blind spots. Years that you gave us by underestimating us. We could strike anywhere in your territory, Jin had added. But we won't. Unlike you, we don't believe in empire building. We just wanted to make sure you understood one simple truth. First speaker Nix sank into his chair. What truth? That patience isn't the same as weakness, Hana answered. That humans don't submit just because we're careful. That every time you thought you were teaching us our place in the galaxy, you were actually teaching us how to take control of it. The council members looked at each other in growing horror. They had spent years believing they were containing a weak, submissive species. Now they realized they had actually been helping that species prepare for this moment. What are your demands? First speaker Nix asked quietly. We have only one, Commander Park replied. Remember this day. Remember that humans aren't peaceful because we're weak. We're peaceful because we choose to be. And we are patient because it lets us prepare for the moments when peace isn't possible. As his words echoed in the chamber, the council members finally understood. They hadn't been dealing with a species that didn't understand power. They had been dealing with a species that understood it all too well. Commander Topark stood before the gathered alien representatives in Earth Command's main briefing room. The walls displayed holographic maps showing every star system, every fleet position, and every hidden base that humans had built over the years. Now, he said calmly, let me show you what real strategic planning looks like. With a wave of his hand, he revealed the first layer of human preparation. Red dots appeared across the galaxy map, marking every major alien military base. Next to each dot was a detailed analysis of its strengths, weaknesses, and the exact methods humans had developed to neutralize it. These bases, he explained, we mapped them all during our diplomatic visits. Every time you invited us to see your power, we were actually studying how to defeat it. Dr. Hannah Kim stepped forward, adding her own data to the display. Here are the biological profiles we created, she said, bringing up detailed scans of every council species. Your weapons, your defenses, they're all based on your biology. Once we understood that, defeating your technology became simple. The alien representatives watched in stunned silence as their greatest secrets appeared on the screens. Things they thought nobody knew, weaknesses they thought they had hidden, all laid bare by human patience and planning. But surely, one alien diplomat said, you couldn't have prepared for everything. Captain Jin has smiled from his position by the door. Computer, show response plan Delta 7. New images appeared, showing detailed battle plans and counter-strategies. This, Jin He explained, was our plan if you had attacked us with biological weapons. Plan Delta 8 was for chemical warfare. Plan Delta 9 was for psychological warfare. We have plans for everything, Commander Park continued. If you had tried to turn our colonies against Earth, we were ready. If you had attempted to destroy our sun, we had countermeasures. If you had discovered any of our hidden bases, we had 3 backup bases for each one you might have found. The aliens saw their own faces appear on the screens, recordings from every meeting, every interaction with humans. They watched as human analysts studied their expressions, learned their tells, figured out when they were lying or planning to attack. Your arrogance made you predictable, Hannah explained. You were so sure of your superiority that you never changed your tactics. You never thought you needed to. One of the alien representatives, a being made of living crystal, spoke up. But the resources needed for all this, the time, the planning. Commander Park nodded to a nearby officer who revealed another layer of information. While you watched our official mining operations, our stealth ships were building these. The display showed massive hidden shipyards, weapon factories, and research facilities, all constructed in secret. Every time you restricted our expansion, Jin He added, we built 2 secret bases for everyone you denied us. Every time you thought you were limiting our resources, we were actually stockpiling them. Hannah brought up more data, training simulations, combat exercises, and strategic games. Our soldiers have fought this war 1,000 times in virtual reality. We knew exactly how you would react, exactly what orders you would give, exactly how your ships would move. But why? Asked the crystal being. Why go to all this trouble if you're not going to conquer us? Commander Park's expression grew serious. Because the galaxy needed to learn something important. Patience isn't weakness. Preparation isn't paranoia. And mercy. He paused, looking each alien representative in the eye. Mercy is a choice made by the strong, not a weakness shown by the fearful. We chose peace every time we could. We chose diplomacy when it was possible. But we also chose to be ready for the moment when those choices were taken away from us. The room fell silent as the aliens finally understood. Humans hadn't just prepared for war. They had prepared for every possible kind of war, every possible enemy, every possible scenario. They had spent years being underestimated, and they had used every moment of that time to ensure it would never happen again. 1 month after Operation Silent Thunder, Captain Jin has stood on the observation deck of the Patience, watching alien ships approach the newly established Peace Conference Station. The massive space station hung in neutral territory, its design a mixture of all species architecture. They're arriving early, Dr. Hannah Kim noted, standing beside him. No more making humans wait for hours to show their importance. Jin He nodded. Amazing how diplomatic everyone becomes when they realize their weapons don't work and their secrets aren't secret anymore. The station's main conference room filled slowly. Where once alien representatives had lounged carelessly in their seats and made humans stand, now they moved carefully, watching the human delegation with new respect. Commander Park entered last, carrying a simple data tablet. The room grew quiet as he walked to the center of the chamber. On the walls, the living crystals pulsed with shades of green and blue, colors of attention and caution. The terms are simple, he began. Every species keeps its current territory. No more aggressive expansion. No more protecting weaker species. No more using technological advantage to bully others. First Speaker Nix, who now shared his position with representatives from other species, spoke up. And if we agree, Humans will remove their hidden weapons from our systems. Most of them. Hannah replied with a small smile. We'll keep enough to make sure everyone remembers why we're having this meeting. High Elder Kex, no longer wearing his elaborate armor, asked the question everyone was thinking. How can we trust you? You spent years deceiving us all. No, Jin He corrected him. We spent years letting you deceive yourselves. You saw what you wanted to see. You believed what your pride told you to believe. We just didn't correct your mistakes. Commander Park activated his tablet, showing images of human colonies, but not the hidden military bases or secret weapons. Instead, he showed schools, hospitals, parks, and families. This is what we want, he explained. Peace, progress, the chance to build rather than hide, to grow rather than prepare for war. But make no mistake, his eyes moved from one alien representative to another. We will never again let anyone mistake our patience for weakness. And if someone does, asked a crystalline being. Hannah's smile grew slightly wider. Then they'll learn what we learned while you thought you were teaching us our place. They'll learn that humans don't just prepare for war. We prepare to win it completely, decisively, and with minimal losses on our side. The new peace treaty appeared on everyone's screens. It was written in simple, clear language that left no room for misunderstanding. No hidden tricks, no complex diplomatic phrases, just straightforward terms backed by the unmistakable knowledge of human capability. As the alien representatives read the treaty, Jin He spoke one last time. We could have conquered your worlds. We could have taken your resources. We could have used everything we learned about you to destroy you completely. Remember that we chose not to. Why? First Speaker Nix asked quietly, why show mercy after all we did? Commander Park closed his tablet, because that's the final lesson humanity wanted to teach the galaxy. True strength isn't about destruction. It's about having the power to destroy and choosing not to use it. Patience isn't about waiting for mercy. It's about being powerful enough to grant it. One by one, the alien representatives signed the treaty. They had finally learned what humans had been trying to teach them all along, that peace is not the choice of the weak, but the privilege of the strong. As the signing concluded, the station's living crystals shifted to a deep gold, the color of new beginnings. The galaxy had changed forever, and every species now understood a fundamental truth. Human patience was never about seeking mercy. It was about being wise enough to prefer peace, strong enough to ensure it, and careful enough to maintain it. But if that peace was ever threatened again, well, humans were still very, very patient.